Grace and peace to you. This is yours truly again. Once again, Bishop Bowser coming to you. I just wanted to briefly talk to you today about, or share with you, I should say today, that I had an individual to comment about, my report on the homicides that happened recently. And one of the things I did is did a comparison to what was happening in the 80s and the 90s. But of course, I come up in the 70s and the 80s. And one of the things the gentleman was saying, oh, well, he went all the way back to the 70s. He said, well, in the 70s, when you look at the per capita, there's way a lot more violence happening now than in the 70s and so on. And I, correct him to let him know that I'm not just talking about the 70s, but talking about the 70s and the 80s. And we know that violence peaked in around 91, 92, right? With over 200 something homicides. But the point that I want to share with you and make is in regards to that is that, I started thinking, going back to the 70s, when I came up in the 70s and started banging, I started banging maybe like I was around 12 years old in 1974, right? And West Coast Crip, we was Crips, but wasn't Crips. I wasn't fully aware of it at that time. I was fully aware of West Coast LTD, West Coast Wrecking Crew, and we were Roller Coasters. Of course, that came a little bit later, but then West Coast Crip. But coming up in the 70s, there was a lot of violence that was taking place during that time, but it was fighting for the most part until we got into the late 70s, and that's when things kind of shifted from fighting to shooting, going into the late 70s, and then the 80s came. The more we got into the 80s, the more violence we started seeing with guns and killings and homicides and shootings and things like that, even though that was happening in the 70s, right? I got homeboys that are still locked up right now in prison for murders they've done in the late 70s and early 80s. So, but most of what took place in the 70s was fighting, right? And the thing I would ask our young ones today is, when the last time you got in a fight, right? When the last time you got in a fight, not just with your homie or somebody like that. I'm talking about with a rival gang member, someone from another set, when you got in a fight with them, right? Because back then, before we started doing all this shooting, that's what we had to do. We had to fight. And let me tell you, being West Coast Crip, we fought every day. And you might think I'm exaggerating, but on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the parties on Friday and Saturdays, at the park on Sunday, and then Monday through Thursday, we either, was catching the bus or riding across town, going to either somebody's house or to the park or where they hang out at. And we would just ride on them, right? And catch them, on the bus, coming through our set, catch them downtown, catch them somewhere. But almost every day, at least it seemed like that we were fighting every day. Our hands were swollen, our knuckles were bruised. We had to wrap our hands up because of being in so many fights all the time, right? And so, back then, even when you talk about violence with fighting, there was a lot of fights that were going on all over the place. And sometimes we won, sometimes we lost. Now, I never lost a fight to a rival. I lost one fight in my gangbanging career, and that was lost a fight, getting a fight with one of my big homies, one of my older homies that tried to bully me. And, I wasn't having that. And so he stole on me, and we got in a fight, and I busted my head with a rock. And after that, never, ever try to mess with me again. But never lost a fight to a rival. But I've had some of my homeboys that have, and seen others that lost fights and things like that. But that's no biggie, because we live to see another day, right? And that's one of the points that I wanted to make, is that, when back in the 70s, there was a lot of violence going on. The violence was fighting. And that was happening every day. And you had to know how to fight. Even if you couldn't fight, you still had to fight. You got your butt whipped, but you had to fight. It didn't matter. And, so today, even though I know some of these youngsters fighting, some of them will knock you out, they're good with their hands. And I know a lot of them still good with their hands, but it's rare today that you hear about a lot of fighting. Most of the time it's shooting. Even if they get into a fight, then they go to the car and get a gun and want to shoot somebody or something like that, you know. And that was the farthest thing from our mind when we got in a fight. You know, we was ready to do it the next day and the next day and the next day, right? I'll see you again. That's kind of where it was until, you know, folks start pulling those guns out on you, started shooting at you and things. So then you have to shift up and, you know, protect yourself also. But that's what I want to share with you is that, you know, in the 70s, we saw a lot of violence, and it was every day. I mean, banging was every day. There was no break. But it was with our hands, right? And every now and then somebody gets shot or stabbed or something like that or what have you. And somebody might get killed, rare, but it did happen in the 70s. And then going into the late 70s and early 80s is when we really started seeing the uptick in guns and shootings and then homicides and so on. But I just want to share it with you. All right, God bless you. This is my YouTube page, Cornelius Bowser Sr. So like and subscribe. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers so that I can go live. You know, I want to go live. I'm a pastor, so I also want to go live on our church, live stream through our church, but also do some live footage of some of the things that we do, you know, that I do on a personal level and also do in the community and so on. All right, God bless you. So share, like, and subscribe, and encourage others to subscribe. God bless you.
Hey y'all, this is Bishop Bowser again. I'm just about out of here, but before I go, I just wanted to leave you another word to let you know that your circumstances don't determine your outcome. If you want better outcomes in your life, check out your thinking, check out what's inside of you. All right, y'all, I'm out of here.